Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome. Today's topic is the 1919 Cleveland Indians MLB baseball season. Again, the Tribe was playing in the American League, the junior circuit of Major League Baseball, and they were playing home games in Cleveland at Dunn Field, also known as League Park. In 1919, the Tribe had an outstanding year. They finished in second place with a record of 84-55. Winning percentage of .604. If you're above 600, that's a tremendous year. They were 3.5 games out of first. First place team was the Chicago White Sox, who were 88-52, winning percentage of .629. Second place, the Cleveland Indians, 84-55. Third place, the New York Yankees, 80-59. Fourth place, the Detroit Tigers, 80-60. Fifth place, the St. Louis Browns, 67-72. Sixth place, the Boston Red Sox, 66-71. Seventh place, the Washington Senators, 56-84. And in eighth and last place, again, the Philadelphia Athletics, who were 36-104, winning percentage of .257, 52 games out of first. Again, the Connie Mack and the Philadelphia Athletics were going through a tough rebuilding phase. Now, there was only 140 games in the season. The owners were uncertain about the American economy and the aftermath of World War I, so they decided to shorten the season. On August 28th at League Park, the Cleveland Plain Dealer newspaper noted that there was an unusually high number of women at the game. And it was played, quote, before 20,000 baseball maniacs, close to 4,000 of them of the sex that rooted in the soprano tone. And in late August, there was a new one-game attendance record at League Park, 26,925. The opener was in Detroit, and the Cleveland Rooters Club traveled to Detroit for the game. For $15, they could have a round-trip boat fare to Detroit, a berth on the train, and 3 meals at the Hotel Statler. The home opener was on May 1st, and 3 bands performed, including the personal band of General John Pershing, who was the American general in the First World War. The concessions sold hot dogs, peanuts, chewing gum, lemonade, soda pop, and cigars. For the season, the Tribe attendance was 538,135, or an average of 7,743 fans per game. Again, Lee Full was the manager in 1919, and he was a manager, but only for part of the season. His record in 1919 was 44-34. He resigned after 78 games. In his last game with Cleveland, the Indians had a 7-3 lead in the ninth against Boston, and they lost the game 8-7 with the crushing blow, a grand slam by Babe Ruth, who was still with Boston at the time. Ruth had a record 29 home runs that year. Now, after he resigned, he got discouraged and resigned and was replaced by Tris Speaker. The following years, Full managed the St. Louis Browns from 1921 to 1923 and the Boston Red Sox from 1924 to 1926. So this was the end of Lee Full's time in Cleveland. Really good guy, good manager, Lee Full. So the new manager was kind of like Napoleon Lajoie, a player manager. Tris Speaker managed the last 61 games of the season and had a fine record as manager, a record of 40-21 while playing center field. Speaker batted .296 with 38 doubles, 12 triples, 2 home runs, 63 RBIs, 19 stolen bases in 134 games. And Speaker was with Cleveland from 1916 to 1926, and he took over after 78 games. So that was Tris Speaker, tremendous player, superstar. Our fine catcher, again, was Steve O'Neill, who batted .289 with 35 doubles, 7 triples, 2 home runs, 47 RBIs, 4 stolen bases in 125 games. And O'Neill was with Cleveland from 1911 to 1923, and he was the Indians manager from 1935 to 1937. Steve O'Neill. At first base, we had Doc Johnston, who had a fine year, batted .305, 17 doubles, 3 triples, a home run, 33 RBIs, 21 stolen bases in 102 games. And Doc Johnston was with Cleveland from 1912 to 1914, and then from 1918 to 1921. Doc Johnston. Bill Wamsgans was at second base. Wamsgans batted .278 with 17 doubles, 6 triples, 2 home runs, 60 RBIs, 18 stolen bases in 139 games. And Wamsgans was with Cleveland from 1914 to 1923. Bill Wamsgans. Ray Chapman was our outstanding shortstop. Chapman batted .300, an even .300, 23 doubles, 10 triples, 3 home runs, 53 RBIs, 18 stolen bases, and 115 games. And Chapman was with Cleveland from 1912 to 1920. Tremendous player in person, very positive person. Everybody loved Ray Chapman. Larry Gardner was at third base. Gardner batted .300 also with 29 doubles. Tremendous, 7 triples, 2 home runs, 79 RBIs, 7 stolen bases in 139 games. Gardner was from Enosburg Falls, Vermont. He died in St. George, Vermont in 1976 at age 89. A career average of .289 with 1,931 hits, 934 RBIs, and 165 stolen bases. Gardner played for the Boston Red Sox, Philadelphia Athletics, and Cleveland Indians between 1908 and 1924. He won World Series titles with the Red Sox in 1912, 1915, and 1916, and in 1920 with Cleveland. He's in the Boston Red Sox Hall of Fame and the Vermont Athletic Hall of Fame. Larry Gardner. Jack Graney was the left fielder. Graney batted .234 with 22 doubles, 8 triples, a home run, 30 RBIs, 7 stolen bases in 128 games. Graney was with Cleveland starting in 1908 and then 1910 to 1922. And then he was the Cleveland Indians radio broadcaster from 1932 to 1953. Jack Graney. Elmer Smith was the right fielder. Smith batted .278 with 24 doubles, 6 triples, 9 home runs, 54 RBIs, 15 stolen bases in 114 games. Smith was with Cleveland from 1914 to 1916, and then 1917 to 1921. He served in the U.S. Army in the First World War and then was discharged when the war ended. And he said, quote, "It was a great old war, but I can safely say I prefer baseball and can scarcely wait until I am at the training camp taking a wallop at the little leather apple once more." Elmer Smith. Smokey Joe Wood played some outfield. Wood batted .255 with 49 hits and 192 at-bats, 16 doubles, 6 triples, 27 RBIs, 3 stolen bases in 72 games. And he pitched a little bit. He had no decisions and an ERA of 0.00 in one game, 2/3 of an innings pitched. Wood was with Cleveland from 1917 to 1922. The former tremendous pitcher who had converted to become an outfielder, Smokey Joe Wood. Joe Harris played some first base. Harris batted .375. Wow. 69 hits and 184 at-bats, 16 doubles, a triple, a home run, 46 RBIs, 2 stolen bases in 62 games. And Harris was with Cleveland in 1917 and 1919, so this was the end of his time in Cleveland. Joe Harris. Harry Lunte played some shortstop. Lunte batted .195 with 15 hits and 77 at-bats, scored 2 runs, had 2 doubles, 2 RBIs in 26 games. Lunte was from St. Louis, Missouri. He died in St. Louis in 1965 at age 72. Career average of .196 with 9 RBIs. Played for the Cleveland Indians in 1919 and 1920 and won a World Series with the Tribe in 1920. He was the pinch runner for Ray Chapman on August 16, 1920, when Chapman was hit by the pitch and had to be taken out of the game and later died. Harry Lunte. Les Nunemaker played some catcher. He batted .250 with 14 hits and 56 at-bats, scored 6 runs, had a double, a triple, 7 RBIs in 26 games. Nunemaker was from Malcolm, Nebraska. He died in Hastings, Nebraska in 1938 at age 49. A career average of .268 with 2 home runs and 216 RBIs. Nunemaker played for the Boston Red Sox, New York Yankees, St. Louis Browns, and Cleveland Indians between 1911 and 1922. He won World Series titles in 1912 with the Red Sox and 1920 with the Indians. For his career, he had 533 hits, 75 doubles, and 30 stolen bases, and he also played in the minor leagues for the Lincoln Rail Splitters and the Chattanooga Lookouts. Les Nunemaker. Pinch Thomas was another spare catcher. Thomas batted .109 with 5 hits and 46 at-bats, scored 2 runs, had 2 RBIs, walked 4 times, struck out 3 times in 34 games. And Thomas was with Cleveland from 1918 to 1921. Pinch Thomas. Joe Evans played some shortstop. Evans batted .071 with 1 hit and 14 at-bats. He scored 9 runs, had a stolen base, walked twice, struck out once in 21 games. Evans was with Cleveland from 1915 to 1922. Joe Evans. Now, the pitching staff was anchored by our ace, Stan Kovaleski. As a hitter, Kovaleski batted .213 with 20 hits and 94 at-bats. He scored 10 runs, 5 doubles, a triple, 6 RBIs. He walked 13 times, struck out 31 times in 43 games. Kovaleski's pitching record was 24-12 with an ERA of 2.61, 43 games, 34 starts, 24 complete games, 4 shutouts, and 4 saves. And Kovaleski was with Cleveland from 1916 to 1924. Stan Kovaleski. Jim Bagby was second in the rotation. Bagby batted .258 with 23 hits and 89 at-bats, scored 8 runs, 4 doubles, a home run, 8 RBIs, walked 8 times, struck out 13 times in 37 games. And Bagby's pitching record was 17-11 with an ERA of 2.80, 35 games, 32 starts, 21 complete games, and 3 saves. And Bagby was with Cleveland from 1916 to 1922. Jim Bagby. Guy Morton was third in the rotation. Morton batted .161 with 9 hits and 56 at-bats, scored twice, had a double, 9 RBIs, walked twice, struck out 8 times in 26 games. Morton's pitching record was 9-9 with an ERA of 2.81, 26 games, 20 starts, 9 complete games, and 3 shutouts. And Morton was with Cleveland from 1914 to 1924. Guy Morton. Elmer Myers was another starting pitcher. Myers batted .239 with 11 hits and 46 at-bats. He scored 5 runs, had a double, 2 triples, 6 RBIs, walked 4 times, struck out 10 times in 23 games. Myers' pitching record was 8-7 with an ERA of 3.74, 23 games, 15 starts, 6 complete games, a shutout, and a save. Myers was from York Springs, Pennsylvania. He died in Collingswood, New Jersey in 1976 at age 82. A career record of 55-72 with an ERA of 4.06 and 428 strikeouts. Myers pitched for the Philadelphia Athletics, Cleveland Indians, and Boston Red Sox between 1915 and 1922. In the minor leagues, he played for the Salt Lake City Bees, the Knoxville Smokies, and the Los Angeles Angels. Elmer Myers. George Ewell was another pitcher. Ewell batted .302. Wow, 13 hits and 43 at-bats. Scored 7 runs, had 2 doubles, a triple, 6 RBIs in 26 games. Ewell's pitching record was 10-5 with an ERA of 2.91, 26 games, 12 starts, 7 complete games, and a shutout. Ewell was from Cleveland, Ohio. He died in Lakewood, Ohio in 1985 at age 86. A career record of 201 and 166, ERA of 3.99 and 1,135 strikeouts. Ewell pitched for the Cleveland Indians, Detroit Tigers, New York Giants, and New York Yankees between 1919 and 1936. Won a World Series with Cleveland in 1920. He was a 2-time American League win leader in 1923 and 1926. Babe Ruth called George Ewell the toughest pitcher he ever faced, and he's buried at Lakewood Cemetery in Rocky River, Ohio. George Ewell. Hy Jasper was another pitcher. Jasper batted 103 with 3 hits and 28 at-bats, scored twice, had walked once, struck out 15 times in 12 games. Jasper's pitching record was 4-5 with an ERA of 3.59. 12 games, 10 starts, and 5 complete games. Jasper was from St. Louis, Missouri. He died in St. Louis in 1937 at age 50. A career record of 10-12 with an ERA of 3.48 and 96 strikeouts. Jasper pitched for the Chicago White Sox, St. Louis Cardinals, and Cleveland Indians between 1914 and 1919. He died in 1937 after he fell off a truck driven by his employer in St. Louis, Missouri. Hy Jasper. Ray Caldwell was another pitcher. Caldwell batted .348, 8 hits and 23 at-bats, scored 4 runs, 4 doubles, 2 RBIs in 6 games. His pitching record was 5-1 with an ERA of 1.71. 6 games, all starts, and he completed 4 of them and had a shutout. Caldwell was from Corydon, Pennsylvania. He died in Salamanca, New York in 1967 at age 79. A career record of 133 and 120 with an ERA of 3.22 and 1,006 strikeouts. Caldwell pitched for the New York Highlanders, the New York Yankees, the Boston Red Sox, and Cleveland Indians between 1910 and 1921. He won a World Series with Cleveland in 1920. He threw a no-hitter on September 10th, 1919. Caldwell was a spitball pitcher. He was one of 17 pitchers allowed to continue throwing the spitball after it was outlawed in 1920. Caldwell was an alcoholic and a notorious partier, which stopped him from reaching his potential. He was struck by lightning while on the pitching mound in the 9th inning in a game in 1919 with 2 out, and he was unconscious for a few minutes, and then he woke up and he came to, and they kept him in the game. He got the last out and won the game. Really something. After he retired, he bought a farm and worked as a train station telegrapher. He was a steward and he was a bartender at the Lakewood Road and Gun Club. He's in the Chautauqua Sports Hall of Fame, inducted in 2010. Now with Cleveland, he got in his contract, it stipulated that Caldwell was required to get drunk after he pitched a game and then not show up the next day. The next day after that, he would run as much as the manager ordered, and the next day he'd throw batting practice, and the 4th day he would start. Now that game when he was struck by lightning, he was unconscious for 5 minutes, and they kept him in the game and got the guy out. Really something. Ray Caldwell. Johnny Ensman was another pitcher. Ensman batted .133 with 2 hits and 15 at-bats. He scored a run, had a double and RBI in 14 games. Ensman's pitching record was 3-2 with an ERA of 2.28, 14 games, 4 starts, and 2 complete games. Ensman was with Cleveland from 1918 to 1919, so this was the end of his time in Cleveland. He continued in the major leagues for 1 more year until 1920. Johnny Ensman. Charlie Jameson was a pitcher and an outfielder. Jameson batted .353, 6 hits and 17 at-bats, scored 3 runs, 2 doubles, a triple, 2 RBIs, 2 stolen bases in 26 games. As a pitcher, he had no decisions and an ERA of 5.54, 4 games, 1 start, and 13 innings pitched. Jameson was from Paterson, New Jersey. He died in Paterson in 1969 at age 76. For his career, he hit .303 with 18 home runs and 552 RBIs. So he became mostly an outfielder rather than a pitcher in his career. He played for the Washington Senators, Philadelphia Athletics, and Cleveland Indians between 1915 and 1932. Won a World Series title in 1920 with Cleveland. He's in the Cleveland Indians Hall of Fame. They called him Cuckoo. In 1924, he finished 6th in the MVP voting. And he batted .300 8 times in his career. Tremendous. Charlie Jameson. Tom Phillips was another pitcher. Phillips batted .364. Wow, 4 hits and 11 at-bats, scored a run in 22 games. Phillips' pitching record was 3-2 with an ERA of 2.95. 22 games, 3 starts, and 55 innings pitched. Phillips was from Phillipsburg, Pennsylvania. He died in Phillipsburg in 1929 at age 40. Career record of 8-12 with an ERA of 3.74 and 44 strikeouts. Phillips pitched for the St. Louis Browns in 1915, the Cleveland Indians in 1919, and the Washington Senators in 1921 and 1922. They called him Big Tom. He was a hero in his family, the first to make it out of the mines. Threw a no-hitter for the New Orleans Pelicans in 1924 in the minor leagues, and he died of diabetes. Tom Phillips. Fritz Kuhm was another pitcher. Kuhm batted .500, 3 hits and 6 at-bats, 4 RBIs in 8 games. Pitching record was 1-1 with an ERA of 5.32, 8 games, 2 starts, and a save. Kuhm was with Cleveland from 1914 to 1919, so this was the end of his time in Cleveland. He continued in the major leagues until 1921. Fritz Kuhm. Tony Faith was another pitcher. He batted 4 times, did not have a hit. He struck out 3 times in 6 games. Faith's pitching record, he had no decisions and an ERA of 0.49, 6 games and 18 1/3 innings pitched. Faith was from Aberdeen, South Dakota. He died in St. Paul, Minnesota in 1982 at age 89. Career record of no decisions and an ERA of 2.70 and 21 strikeouts. Faith also pitched in the minor leagues for the Virginia Ore Diggers, the Milwaukee Brewers, and the St. Paul Saints. Tony Faith. Ed Klepfer was another pitcher. Klepfer batted once, did not have a hit in 5 games. As a pitcher, he had no decisions and an ERA of 7.36, 5 games and 7 1/3 innings pitched. Klepfer was with Cleveland from 1915 to 1917, and here he was back in 1919, and this was the end of his MLB career. Ed Klepfer. Joe Engel was another pitcher. Engel batted once, did not have a hit, had no decisions as a pitcher, pitched 1 game. He got only 1/3 of an inning. He gave up 3 runs, and 2 of which were earned. Engel was from Washington, D.C. He died in Chattanooga, Tennessee in 1969 at age 76. A career record of 17-23 with an ERA of 3.38 and 151 strikeouts. Engel pitched for the Washington Senators, Cincinnati Reds, and Cleveland Indians, and then back with the Senators from 1912 to 1920. He was a promoter and team owner in the minor leagues. Engel was one of 6 children of immigrant parents. His father owned a bar/hotel next to the Washington Post building in Washington, D.C. As a boy, Engel played with Kermit and Alice Roosevelt, U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt's children. He also was the Washington Senators' bat boy. He attended college at Mount St. Mary's, and he lettered in track, baseball, basketball, and football. With the Senators, he was roommate with Walter Johnson, and he became a Senator scout, one of the greatest of all time, signed Goose Goslin, Joe Cronin, and Bucky Harris. He was the owner of the Chattanooga Lookouts for 34 years. He had a lot of interesting promotions. He had the Players Parade on elephants on opening day. These promotions were a big hit. He had canaries singing in the grandstand. He traded a shortstop for a turkey, whom he served to sports writers to, quote, give them the bird. Joe Engel. Now, after the season, the 1919 World Series was played. The American League champions, the Chicago White Sox, were defeated by the National League champions, Cincinnati Reds, 5-3. Later, it was learned that the Chicago 8 players on the White Sox took money to not play hard and try to lose those games. So it became known as the Chicago Black Sox scandal. So this was really, really terrible. The White Sox had star players Shoeless Joe Jackson, Chick Gandil, Eddie Cicotte, Buck Weaver, and Lefty Williams. So that's the story of the 1919 Cleveland Indians. They had a tremendous year. God bless the guys who played for the Indians in 1919 and everyone else associated with the team, including the Civil War veterans, Spanish-American War veterans, and First World War veterans. Captains of the Cuyahoga, lovers of Lake Erie, Terminal Tower Power, fans of the Free Stamp Statue and the Fountain of Eternal Life, Severance Hall Stalwarts, Euclid Avenue Electricity, First Energy Stadium Friends, Progressive Field Pals, Quicken Loans Arena Enthusiasts, Tribe, Browns, Cavs, Monsters, and Gladiators rule. Cleveland, City of Champions. And well, before you know it, it'll be opening day 2019. Go Tribe. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.